Welcome back to One Comic Book a Day, where we're covering Adventure Comics 106, Weather Hurricane. That is Weather, comma, Hurricane, instead of like Weather Hurricane. Actually, that still sounds like it has a comma in it. It's such a unimaginative and not great title for what is a pretty good Superboy story by the merits of Superboy stories at that time. I do enjoy this story. If you've been watching this video series for a while now, you know what I really want from like a Superman story is for him to face a challenge and to save people. And if saving people involved, an actual challenge, something hard for him to do, not like a breeze for him to do. That doesn't necessarily mean him having someone to punch, which seems to be always the complaint in the movies. They want him to have someone he can actually fight and it be a challenge. I do enjoy him being able to fight someone who is a challenge, but that challenge can easily just be a spoiled rich person being turned good like it's a Christmas Carol, which we have gotten the versions of those stories more early on in the early to mid 40s than we do in the 1950s, but we are more or less in the we're a little bit more into the later 40s with Superboy. But I like those stories because that is also a challenge, and it is saving someone, even if it's one person's soul. Even that one person's soul doing good unto others, as one of the top 3 Superman stories I've covered on this series, The Last Days of Superman, do good unto others, and every man can be a Superman. Essentially, pay it forward. Just not bad like the movie Pay It Forward. But there is a bit of a double-edged sword here with him doing good in this particular comic. We're having some filler issues. Issues as in trouble and problems, not issues as in an issue of a comic. These comics, of course, have been very tight with their 7 pages of story. 6.5 if you count the introduction half of the page of the first page. Here, there's a hurricane going on. Hey! Title's correct. There seems to be weather, and it is indeed a hurricane, and it's caused a family who are on a boat to tip over, and the kid is seriously injured and needs surgery. In the wherever they are, it's still kind of unclear. I think they've actually said it is Metropolis, not Smallville yet. And I've mentioned this before. It varies by issue if it's like a city or a very sporadic farmland or something that's sort of like an early suburb. If I were to try to create it in my head, or possibly just my own imagination trying to combine all these inconsistencies, I would say it's sort of Metropolis in its early days of becoming a city, like some structure and city planning's going into it, and they have some larger than, say, a general store buildings, but it's not Smallville and it's not like a city Metropolis, which seems to have its own docks, seeing that the story starts with them next to the ocean. This was something on the show Smallville, where Smallville apparently had docks, but Smallville also seemed to be miles away from Smallville, Kansas, which is a landlocked area. This was a big joke with a physics teacher I had in high school. Like, how the hell does Smallville have docks? But here at the docks, they get injured. What is trying to be accomplished in the story, and the challenge for Superboy, and a legitimate challenge for Superboy, is him trying to keep things working and protect people. So the doctor, the local doctor, and wherever they are, this early Metropolis, can call a specialist across the nation to perform the surgery the kid needs. So this involves him having to, fix the electricity as it goes out and save people with power lines becoming a threat to them. And repairing the phone lines because he has to call the guy. This is actually really reminiscent of a story that I don't remember the title of. It was pretty early on in Superman where Superman had to go get the specialist and fly him through a hurricane. The hurricane wasn't happening. It wasn't like the main threat. It was just an added set piece for the comic where he's flying him through a hurricane and he punches out a barn heading towards them. The story itself, not that memorable, but I remember that hurricane scene pretty well. Now, are all these little action set pieces all that good? No, they kind of happen one after each other, and it sort of like loses the main thrust of the plot as we're just kind of focusing on having Superboy do interesting things because we fear if we lull into only plot, the children audience are going to get bored and Superboy needs to, punch something or do something amazing. Once again, having him perform the surgery would have solved this problem. Was that last issue I was complaining about a surgery happening? Is it 2 issues in a row where he's involved in a surgery? I just wish they were less afraid of just letting Superboy just kind of focus on plot instead of, just throwing in as many action set pieces as needed out of fear that I'm going to get bored. I don't get bored if you're telling a well enough story with almost no heroics. In fact, Ultimate Spider-Man currently is doing that, and honestly, the actual people standing around and talking has been better than the actual super heroics that are happening in that comic. But I'm not here to talk about the current Jonathan Hickman Ultimate Spider-Man. God, some days I would rather be talking about the current Ultimate Spider-Man. That Christmas issue is fantastic. But I'm talking about this specific issue of Superboy. The Hurricane itself doesn't seem to be much of a threat to the rest of Metropolis Smallville. He does save some people in the process. The city doesn't seem to be in that much turmoil other than the things that they specifically needed to save the kid being taken out. Hopefully. I don't want to find out that a bunch of people died because he was too busy focusing on one thing. He's Superman. He does the impossible. I guess he's Superboy. Maybe Superboy doesn't do the impossible. Maybe that's not the point of Superboy. But he's going to grow into a character of that. So, just some filler problems that I've focused way too much on. It's not that bad. I just kind of wish they had spread it out a little bit more instead of happening like one after the next. But overall, Superboy continues to be a pretty good comic. With the caveat, I mean, for a 1940s comic directly at kids. Better than the actual Superman story. Better than the actual Superman comics were at that time. Okay, that is it from Adventure Comics 106. Weather Hurricane. Really annoyed that there's not an exclamation mark at the end of Hurricane. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up. I do this Monday through Friday, but Fridays is Bat Friday, where I cover Batman story, neither Detective Comics or Batman. And until next time, let us ponder the question, whatever did happen to the boy of tomorrow? And seriously, where is this that it has docks and hurricanes? I mean, if it's meant to be like in Kansas, like they don't really get hit by hurricanes, and New York area doesn't really get hit by hurricanes either, but man, does Metropolis seem to have an amazing diverse terrain plus weather. Okay, have a great day.